Hello, how are you all doing? Welcome to my new podcast. I'm Cams and I've decided to make a rambly podcast. Years ago I used to have a blog on the Vox platform, which was owned by Six Apart, and I enjoyed blogging on there and I enjoyed the community. The name of my blog then was called Quoth the Camser, and now I've got a chance to use that name for another piece of content. So here we are. Welcome to Quoth the Camser. Some of you will understand whence that comes. One of my favourite poems is Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven. In fact, it's not one of my favourite poems, it is my favourite poem. I absolutely love that poem. Quoth the Raven, nevermore. So quoth the Camser, because I'm Cams, and a lot of my pals back in Prestwick, where I grew up, used to call me, and still do in fact, the Camser. So quoth the Camser, welcome. I suppose I should start with an introduction and an explanation of what this is going to be about. I am 47, coming up 48 in October. As of recording date now is 2nd of August 2019. And this is going to have background noise in it because I'm walking around my house making a cup of coffee. And I intend to do this out with the dogs. So you'll have ambient Arran noise. I live on the Isle of Arran, on the west coast of Scotland. And I've been here now for just over 11 years. And I am a content creator, which is something I'm very proud to be able to say. I'm a musician, once again, proud. I'm doing it partly for myself, as well as sort of mental health reasons, because I am at the moment on medication for depression, and I feel that sharing openly and honestly about things like that will be good for me, and hopefully good for other people as well. Not only am I on medication for that, I'm also a recovering alcoholic. Have been for coming up on 14 years now. And I regularly attend AA meetings on the island, which has been an incredible journey. So that's something you'll probably hear quite a bit about what I've learned about myself just through taking that journey. So I've just ground my beans. I've just put my coffee grounds into the AeroPress. I haven't boiled the water, so kettle on. Actually, I think it's going to be hot enough. We don't want to go to 100, we want to keep it about 95 to 7, so that's going to be fine. So there we go. Don't you just love Celsius? 0 to 100, it makes so much sense to me. Anyway, so yeah, I mentioned content creation. I make videos, I make audio, I'm a photographer. I shoot on Sony systems and have built my kit up to the stage where I can now shoot interviews quite well, lighting wise and audio wise and video wise, but there is certainly room for growth where video is concerned, and photography. There was a photographer on the island who used to shoot a lot of the high school music shows, and he just left, and so he and I had lunch just before he left. David Hogg is his name, and you should look up his photography. I think it's just davidhogg.com. Let me just confirm that for you. It's davidrhogg.com. So that will take you to his photography site. Now he's a phenomenal photographer. He shoots on Canon system. And as I said, he did the high school music shows over the past 3 years, I want to say. And now he's gone, it's left a gap. And I thought to myself, well, I would like to fill that gap, which would involve a long lens, a decent telephoto lens. The longest lens I have at the moment is an 85mm f1.4, It's a great lens. It's a Sigma Art lens, and it's 85mm. If I put it onto my A6400, which is the APS-C sensor size, it's given me like a 120-ish focal length, which is pretty good, but it's not, I don't think it's long enough. So what David suggested was the coveted 70-200 f2.8. But I've been thinking about the 135, either the G Master or the Sigma Art. So perhaps that's what I will do. Anyway, it's a lot of money to be putting down on a lens, and there are no high school shows coming up at the moment, so I won't be buying the lens anytime soon. And that's partly because I've just had to think about my storage needs and backup needs. Now, I'm shooting professionally now. I got hired last week by a friend of mine, Don O'Boyle, who runs a local bistro in Brodick, and he has some plans, expansion plans for his bistro, and he wants to document the process. He also wants to use social media more effectively and have some constant content going out on the platforms, and so they had a conversation with me, and they've hired me as a freelance to go in and take care of all that for them. That means that my backup requirements are absolutely critical. I need to be sure that my data is safe and accessible, and so to that end I spent a lot of time yesterday thinking about how to do it. Now, I am quite good at storage. I have been for years. I'm that way minded. I'm kind of meticulous and methodical. And so I've always known backup's important, and I've always pretty much taken care of it. Cloud backup and on-site backup and off-site backup. So at the moment I've got a Drobo networked in my attic. It's quite an old one now. It's probably 7-8 years old. Drobo FS, which takes 5 drives and has a maximum storage capacity of 16 terabytes. So yesterday I was copying my data files from my internal 8 terabyte hard drive onto the Drobo in the attic, and it ran out of space. So I had to order 2 4 terabyte drives, and I'm going to take out 2 2 terabyte drives and replace them with 4. That's going to give me only an extra 2 terabytes of storage because I'm using dual disk redundancy, and that means that 2 disks in the Drobo enclosure can fail and I still won't lose any data. So it's not going to be enough, and I thought, well, if my 8 terabyte drive on my PC is full, and it is, well, it's not, I had to delete some movies actually, but it will be because I'm shooting 4K and I'm shooting the Avid codec on the Ninja 5 recorder, DXD something, a bunch of letters, and at 220 compression, so these files are big, so it's going to fill up really fast. So what I need is expandable storage that's accessible on my PC with a decent enough data rate that I can actually use it as my primary storage. So I ended up ordering another Drobo, almost £700 just for the enclosure itself, and I will put in, to start with, the 2 terabyte drives that come out the attic. What I also may do in the attic, if the old Drobo will allow it, is to change it from dual disk redundancy to single disk, if I can do it without having to reformat or lose any data. I'm not sure that you can, but I feel like if I've got 2 Drobos and one's a backup, then I can afford to have single disk redundancy on each one, thereby increasing my storage space while still feeling reasonably safe. I also use Backblaze, which uploads to the cloud. It's unlimited storage to the cloud. The problem with Backblaze, I think, is that it won't, at least with the plan that I have, it won't back up network storage. It's only internal storage, and so none of the Drobo files will be getting sent off to Backblaze. I might look into that and upgrade my plan to see if they have something that will allow me to do that. I know that uploading multiple terabytes is not, it's going to take up a lot of bandwidth, but I think ultimately it would give me my 3-2-1 solution, where you have data in 3 places. 2 of them are on-site, 1 off-site. And so, yeah, look into that. But this is just part of starting a new business, isn't it? Having to think about and spend money, to think about what you need equipment-wise to get the job done, as well as what you need to keep your data safe, and also other expenses like insurance. I haven't really looked into that yet. I may have to put business insurance on my car if I'm driving to jobs, which I will be, and insurance on my camera equipment, so that if it gets knocked over, that sort of thing, I'm covered. At the moment my stuff's on the house insurance, wouldn't cover me for business, I'm quite sure. So it's tricky because we're skint. We're actually paying down debt at the moment, so it's quite a difficult position to be in without seeking more debt. But it's the only way, isn't it? Crowdfunding? Well, I do have a Patreon page. I also shoot a video for my main channel, which is Acoustic Guitar IO, where I interview guitar players and guitar makers and anyone else really involved with the acoustic guitar industry. And on the back of that, I've created a Patreon page because I understand how the model works and I believe in that model. I do subscribe to some Patreon feeds myself, and so I set up my own, and I'm really seeking support. I follow Gary Vaynerchuk's channel, where he talks about documenting the process, which is why I started my other channel, which is called Diary of a Guitar Teacher, because part of what I do is teach guitar on the island, and I'm also considering online lessons. I've started doing a little bit of that by publishing on YouTube some lessons of songs that I can play, and so I'm trying to grow that particular side of the business as well. And so I think that would tie into the Patreon model. If I can create value. That's the goal, is to create valuable content and make it, in some channels, as best quality it can be. On other channels like this one, a bit more chatty and rambly, off the cuff. And so that's the idea. That's my wife just texting me to ask how our Basset Hound is doing, because she's not very well at the moment. She needs to go to the vets. So we've booked her in for tea time tonight. So, sorry about the interruption there. Yeah, so the Patreon page, I think, is something that I need to dive into a bit more, figure out how to encourage people to come and help me out here. Starting a new business is expensive. You know, I've just explained that to you, and you all know that anyway. And I need to find a way without going into more debt, because then you end up paying down debt with interest, and all of the money that you make just goes to the banks. And that's a model that isn't great for a startup, you know. I can't sustain it if I'm not making any money. So making money is really my imperative goal. I need to consider that before all other things. I was actually thinking about that this morning, because I haven't uploaded a new podcast of my own in the interview show for, I think it's 3 weeks now. The last one I uploaded was an interview that I recorded with Mike Dawes, fingerstyle player from the Bath area in England. And it got some good feedback. And I'm also sitting on some other interviews which I need to edit and upload. Clive Carroll, interviewed him. We've got Tom Sands, luthier from Yorkshire. I interviewed him and his apprentice Daisy Tempest. And I also have a nice conversation that I had with a good guitar playing friend of mine called Dan Byrne. And so I've got those on my hard drive which I need to edit and upload, but I was thinking of the money side of things. Now I'm not getting paid to create that content. I'm hoping that somehow that content will end up bringing something in, because I feel that it's very valuable content. It's the kind of thing that I would love to watch myself. In fact, the kind of thing that I do watch myself. And so that's my sort of flagship product. But I've just been hired by my friend to make content for them, and that's paid work. So they've given me a budget, they've given me how many hours they can pay me for a week, and so really what I should be doing is making sure that I hit those targets. And I will. We're only talking 10 hours a week, which is actually nowhere near enough. Nowhere near enough. But I think what I'll do then is I'll do a couple of hours of that now, and then later on today I'll work on my own content and try and get something published. Let me set a goal. Shall we say, not Monday, let's say Wednesday, because what we're talking about here is a 2-camera shoot, so it's a multicam edit with externally recorded audio along with introductions and outros. Weekend is busy, can't remember why, but it is. No, it's gone, but there's something happening at the weekend which will preclude me from making or spending too much time editing. Anyway, so this is just rambly, Quoth the Camser. I actually decided when I started that in order to be truly myself, I would probably allow some swear words to creep in. I'm just enjoying my coffee here. But I haven't, have I? So maybe that's... It's funny, switching on the mic or the camera, it changes the way you talk. I was listening to Gary Vaynerchuk yesterday on a podcast in Cannes, I think it was, at the film festival. And that was the question he was asked, was about the different personas and from a business perspective. He was talking about Coca-Cola and perception and all that sort of thing. And then he talked in the context of himself and about how he talks differently when he's talking to his brother or his mother or if he's on stage talking to an auditorium. And yeah, I mean, it seems pretty obvious, doesn't it? But does that mean I'm not being truly myself when I switch on the camera and I walk around the house chatting to myself? Oh, it's not a camera, it's a microphone. Does it mean I'm editing? And well, of course, aren't we always editing and considering how we're going to be perceived and trying to make ourselves be perceived in the best light possible. Anyway, it's getting a little bit philosophical, particularly for my first show. So I didn't really go into much background of who I am, but that sort of stuff will come out as we continue publishing here. So what I'm doing is I'm really just recording onto a lavalier mic on my collar, which is going into a Tascam DR10L, which is in my pocket. And I'm simply going to suck it into my computer off the SD card and publish it onto Anchor FM. So some of them may go long, some of them may be 5 minutes, or maybe half an hour. I don't really know. It's a very loosey-goosey format. And as I said, it's partly for me, just as a documentary thing. It was actually inspired by Day One, which is a journaling app that I've been using for many years now. I'm a Plus subscriber on the Day One app, which allows me to have multiple journals, and I use it a lot for everything. But one of the new features they've just brought out is video and audio, and I thought I would try the audio version, but you need to have a premium subscription for that, so I thought I'll give it a go. So I did that this morning, And turns out that my Tascam lavalier mic doesn't work in the iPhone, even with a TRRS adapter. I presume it's something to do with power. That microphone must require power. So I've got another mic that does work, but it's not as convenient. So that inspired me to just stick the Tascam in my pocket and ramble into it and share it with the world. Because why not, right? You know, everybody's sharing everything now, so I just figured, why the hell not? So there you go. I don't know if I'll top and tail this with intros and outros. Perhaps that would give it a little bit more sort of audio production value if I were to do that, but that means sitting here coming up with that, which is going to take time. So at the moment, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to put this first one out there. Let me know what you think. I don't even know how I'm going to share this. Probably just chuck it up on Facebook and see who's got the time to listen to Cam's rambling into a microphone for 25 minutes, 22 minutes. So if you have listened, thanks. If you want to subscribe and hear more of my ramblings, thanks. And perhaps we could even have an interview from time to time. I'm set up now to record on Skype through my PC. So, you know, if you ever wanted to get together and just have a conversation with me, you'd be very welcome to do that. You know, I do enjoy a good conversation, and that can help, I think, in some ways to get over the microphone anxiety, try and forget that it's there and just chat to a friend. So, you know, there's all sorts of ways that this can go. I'm just going to put it out there because then I'll have started. So thanks for listening. I'll talk to you all again very soon. Bye for now.